Details in the case against Joran van der Sloot. It's what's happening at 5:30. Welcome back. I'm Derry Alexander.
And I'm Dick Brennan. The FBI reportedly botched a sting operation which could have prevented him from traveling to Peru. Turns out van der Sloot pocketed $25,000, then vanished, only to turn up as a suspect in another murder.
A former NYPD detective and private investigator Beau Dietl joining us now. And you were working on the case, and you have some inside information on how this all went down. Good to see you, Beau. Tell us initially how you were contacted and how this sting operation was set up.
Well, I went to work for John Kelly. John Q. Kelly was the lawyer that was hired by the Holloway family, and he was hired for the wrongful death against Joran van der Sloot. Joran van der Sloot contacted John Kelly in the beginning of April, around Easter time, and he said he wanted to come clean. His father had died in January. He wanted to come clean. He wanted $250,000 from the Holloway family to show where he buried Natalie Holloway. John made communication with him back and forth. At this time, John and I discussed it. He contacted the FBI in the offices in Alabama. They then said, Beau, you could back off. We're going to handle this thing. We're going to have a sting operation, which they're going to set up in a hotel room in Aruba. John went down to Aruba. He meets with Joran van der Sloot in the room, and then all of a sudden van der Sloot tells him he pushed Natalie, he hit her head, she died. He called up his father. They buried her near a construction site. He then was able to, John gave him $10,000 in cash. He then also wired $15,000 to the Netherlands. So there's $25,000 in cash that was transferred.
Okay, so Beau, then what? He ends up in Aruba, and I hear the headlines this morning that the FBI screwed up. What happened? How did he even get to Peru if they had him?
Well, when this thing came down, you had extortion, you had wire fraud, you also had the statement. Under the Aruban law, they could have held him for 180 days just on his new statement of pushing Natalie down with her dying on the ground with her head cracked open. So as far as it's concerned, the Aruban government was notified, and they got a warrant. The FBI had a warrant because it's a two-party country there. In other words, both people have to consent for videotaping. So this was all done properly, but no one understands why the FBI or the Aruban authorities didn't arrest him after this. John took him to the site. He took John to the site. John then left, came back to New York. The next thing, a couple of days later, the FBI was texting John, have you heard from van der Sloot? So now van der Sloot disappears. Where does he end up? He's on the news of killing that girl in Peru. So in reality, somebody dropped the ball. This guy should have never left that island. This murdering punk, I think, has done more.
All right, before we get to that, I got to ask you this real quick. We've heard a million different stories from Joran about what may have happened, how he may have been involved. Do you personally believe that Natalie hit her head while he was there and his father helped him out? Is that the story that you are believing at this point?
I believe one thing. I believe that van der Sloot was involved with the disappearance and probably the murder of that young girl, Natalie Holloway. I also now, there's not a doubt in my mind, he did kill the girl in Peru. That's beyond any evidence that's there. They are going to have a conviction there. I worry about...
And other murders? You think there have been other murders?
I worry about he's been traveling around to Thailand. He's been all over the place. His M.O. is putting those roofies in the drink in Aruba. They also found 2 of those pills in the car where he left in Peru at. This guy's a bad guy. I met him eye to eye at the Kennedy Airport when I served him. I looked in his eyes. This is a murderer.
Stay connected with MyFoxNY.com mobile. Download the iPhone app or text Fox5 to 46988 for other devices. Local news, weather, and traffic on the go with MyFoxNY.com mobile.